Yep.
Okay. Well, welcome again to the Friday edition of Richardson Plano Networkers. Today we are proud to announce our speaker is Michelle Teague, and she is going to talk to us today about the secret to having it all. I like that. I like all. We've seen those people who have it all: fulfilling career, loving family, beautiful home, active social life, healthy body, fabulous wardrobe. During today's inspiring event, Michelle explains how she discovered the secret to having it all. Having it all doesn't mean doing it all. As this event unfolds, attendees will explore why entrepreneurs don't delegate, what can and cannot be delegated, who you should delegate to, and how to delegate. Michelle Teague is a speaker, a trainer, and coach, and has conducted training and spoken from coast to coast. She's given thousands of presentations on a variety of topics over the last 14 years. As a DISC certified consultant, Michelle helps leaders and business owners discover their preferred leadership and communication styles. As a certified and licensed John Maxwell leadership expert, she brings proven strategies and practices to organizations of all sizes. As a volunteer, she has served the American Cancer Society, the YWCA, the National Speakers Association, and the Scottsdale, or is
hmm
that Scottsdale?
Scott Go ahead.
Scottsdale.
Yep.
You'll tell us about that. Business and professional women's clubs. Please join me in welcoming Michelle to the Richardson Plano Networkers.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that warm welcome. I really appreciate it. Okay, I am going to share my screen right now because I got a lot on here that we're going to be going through. In the chat box, I had dropped a file in there, which is a handout that we're going to be using today. You've got a few pieces in there, and we're going to go over the secret to having it all. And the worksheets that you have there that are in the chat box, we're actually going to go through some of these exercises. So I need to make sure that you have them. If you haven't printed it up, but you have another piece of paper, that's fine too. That will work. So, how many of you are familiar with that phrase? You can have it all. Let me see your hands up. How many of you heard that? Okay, lots of hands going up. Yeah. Uh, how many of you are still trying to figure out how you can have it all? Let's see some of those hands going up. Okay. There's a few of you. All right. Like you said in the intro, it's hard to figure out how you can have it all. Have that career, family, friends, good health, home, full social life, just have everything. There's actually a secret to having it all. Before I get to that, though, I'm going to tell you a story. It's my story of how I figured out that secret to having it all. My story begins at Thanksgiving back in the 1970s. I had several aunts and cousins who would tell me from the time that I was a little girl up through when I was a teenager that I could be anything I wanted to be. I could work anywhere I wanted to. I could have a family. I could have a job. And my aunts really stressed that it could be in a male dominated field because back then they were women. Hear them roar. I could have a nice house. I could have whatever I wanted. I could have it all. Silly me, I actually believed them. As I grew up, I got married, I started a family, I earned a bachelor's degree and then a master's degree. I was working as an associate dean for academic affairs for a small school in Tallahassee, Florida. And we had a nice home in a good neighborhood with a great school district. I drove a nice car, and I realized on paper, it looked like I had it all. I had good friends, a couple of dogs, a rewarding career, a loving husband, two adoring children, everything we think of when we hear the phrase, you can have it all. Why then did I feel so overwhelmed? Actually, I kind of felt like a failure. There wasn't enough time in the day to do everything. Obviously, I must have been failing at time management. And looking at my calendar and my planner, I had no available time. Between the meetings, the school events, the baseball games, the band concerts, the meetings, the soccer games, the church events, the meetings, the fundraisers. Did I mention the meetings? There just wasn't any space available on my calendar to wedge in something else. When was I supposed to bake the cupcakes for the bake sale my preschooler had? How was I supposed to get the house clean for the pampered chef party I was hosting? Family dinners, exercise, social time with friends. I was promised if I did everything I was supposed to do, graduate from college, get a good job in management, get married, have children, that I would have it all. Was I the only one who was thinking this having it all was impossible to do? My husband came home from work one day and found me sitting on the couch, staring up at the ceiling. He asked me what was I doing, and I told him nothing. For the first time in what seemed like weeks, I had 10 minutes of unscheduled time, and all I wanted to do was sit there and do nothing. He looked at me and sighed and said, "Oh, I wish I could do that. Seems like I'm constantly running around trying to get things done. I never feel like I'm getting anywhere, though." And that's when I realized we were both trying to keep up with this idea of having it all. Yet we didn't feel like we were the successful couple we appeared to be. How was it that other people were so successful? And how did they have it all? And that's when it hit me. All those years of being told that we could have it all, no one ever said that we had to do it all ourselves. Having studied leadership for years, I knew successful leaders delegated. And that's the secret to having it all. You don't have to do it all. You delegate. You can have it all. You just can't do it all. Boom! Mind blown. My husband and I didn't have to do it all ourselves. We could start delegating some of the tasks to other people. Once we determined we needed to get some help, our lives began to change. When we didn't have to do it all, we had more time available. Those cupcakes for the preschoolers' bake sale, I picked them up at the bakery. The cleaning for the pampered chef party, we hired a cleaning service. Getting the kids back and forth to all the different sporting events, we traded off with a bunch of other parents so that every 2 or 3 days we would shuffle things around instead of every day. Getting the grass cut. My husband had a student that he was teaching there at college who had his own lawn care service. We got a good deal through him. We found we had more time to spend with each other and with our family when we weren't having to do it all ourselves, and we could actually enjoy having it all. Now, I realize there are some things you can't delegate. All right. What are some of the things that come to mind that you cannot delegate to others? Unmute yourself or put in the chat box. What are some of the things that you cannot delegate to other people?
Spending
Date night with
quality.
your wife.
Go ahead.
Oh, I'm hearing lots of stuff. All right. All right. Randy, then David, then we'll see who else. Go ahead,
Spending
Randy.
quality time with your children.
Spending quality time with your children. Okay. David, what did you have?
I said date night with your wife.
That is very true. Do not delegate that to somebody else. You may not have a wife anymore. Anybody else want to tell? Want to say?
Exercise.
Exercise. Okay. Good one. What else?
Keeping your guitar skills up to date.
Okay. You are right, because if you delegate that to somebody else, your actual skills are going to decrease. What else? What are some of the other things you can't delegate? You think of stuff?
Sleep.
Sleep. Oh, yes. If you have small children, you know sleep is something you wish you had more of. Okay, those are all excellent tasks that you definitely can't delegate. Generally, you can't delegate tasks that include sensitive or confidential information. Okay, so for example, if you are a leader of a bunch of employees, you could not delegate their employee reviews to somebody else. Payroll information. If you are in charge of doing payroll yourself and approving it, you can't delegate that to somebody else. Now, having said that, you can indeed delegate the entire payroll process to another company, but you couldn't do it with other people that you are working with. If you've got customer information such as social security numbers or checking account numbers, that kind of information needs to be confidential. So you wouldn't be able to delegate that type of information and tasks out to other people. Having said that, what are some of the tasks that you can delegate? What I want you to do on your worksheet, on that handout that I had there in the chat box, I want you to write down some of the tasks or projects that you have that you can delegate to other people. Okay, you can also write down what you can't, but I want you to focus on some of the things that you can delegate. So go ahead, take a couple of minutes and write down some of the things that you can delegate to other people. Right. Hopefully you're coming up with a big list for what you can delegate. And it doesn't include date night. Cooking, yes. All right. Who would like to share what they can delegate? Who wants to come off mute and tell us some of the things that they can delegate? Go ahead, David.
Washing the car.
Washing the car. Perfect. What else?
Darren?
At work, I can delegate checking emails. Like Luke sent me an email earlier. I forward it to my employees and ask them to follow up on it so I can attend this. So I can delegate that, scheduling meetings. I can have someone else schedule a meeting for me. Just things like that.
Excellent. I like that. Anybody else want to share what they can delegate?
Lawn care.
Lawn care. Yes. That's a bit. My husband is all about that. Let me tell you.
Yeah. Grocery shopping.
Grocery shop. Yeah. Hey, you know what? One of the cool things that came out of the whole COVID thing and stuff shutting down and people not wanting to be out and about is you have things like Instacart that have really exploded in popularity because they'll go out and do the shopping for you. So yeah, it's very easy to have somebody else do your grocery shopping for you.
Go ahead, Randy.
When I had businesses that I was running, I tried to figure out what I was not good at and then find someone who is and delegate it to them.
And that's one of the things we're going to be talking about, Randy. Good. All right. Okay. So I will need you to keep in mind when it comes to delegation, delegation does not mean dumping. How many of you know what I mean when I say delegation is not dumping? Let me see your hands up. Yeah. Okay. All right. Good. Nobody, and I mean nobody, will want to help you if you are dumping things constantly in their lap. There is an actual science and process to delegating. So let's dig a little bit more into the process. First, though, how many of you do not delegate? Even though you just list what you could, how many of you don't delegate? Let's see if we have some hands going up here. Okay, I see a few hands. Okay, all right. I want you to take a couple of minutes, and on your sheet, in the middle there, page 1, it has reasons why I do not delegate. So go ahead and write down why you don't want to delegate. Mm-hmm. Good. Okay, who would like to share with us? Unmute yourself. Let us know why you don't delegate.
Go ahead, Don.
Yeah, some of the things that you could delegate, it can be expensive to delegate.
Okay. Okay. There is a cost involved in it. I'll
Right.
agree with you there. Who else wants to share?
I normally have an issue with lack of patience. It often takes me longer to explain to somebody how to do something I already know how to do,
Mhm.
and it does to actually do it myself. So you're have a kind of a short-term focus, realizing that that's where I often run into it. Whether it's giving something for my 5 kids to do,
Mhm.
or whether it's bringing somebody up to speed on how to manage my website or
Mhm.
my bookkeeping or you name it. I already know what I'm doing, and maybe it could be done better, but I tend to not be patient enough to be willing to invest that time.
Thank you for sharing that, David. I know in the chat box, Vic had written down perfectionism. How many of you, that's one of the reasons why you don't delegate is because somebody isn't going to do it as well as you do it.
Mhm.
How many of you that's the case? Okay. Okay. Uh, if
Don, did you
you,
have something else?
Well, as a former manager, sometimes you just don't trust people in a training situation to do a good job.
Okay.
So you could do a better job yourself.
Okay. If you are in the mindset that if I want something done, I have to do it myself, there's a likely chance that you are adding a bunch of unnecessary stress to your plate. And you're feeling like I was, where you're feeling overwhelmed, that you just don't have enough time in the day to get everything finished. When you're in a leadership position, it can be challenging to let go of your power, really, and to give work when you've been entrusted to do that by another person. And if that sounds familiar, you need to make it a priority to start delegating, even if it's just small things to other people. Start off small, delegate a task that doesn't hold a lot of weight to you, like getting your car washed, and take a look at what the outcomes are going to be like. Let's take a moment just to put this into context with household chores, because David had talked about how you can view this both personally and professionally. So, how many of you have children? First and foremost, how many of you have children? Okay, lots of you. Good. All right. So, I can remember when my children were getting a little bit older. and it was time to start teaching them how to do things around the house. And one of the things that I taught them how to do were the dishes. Uh, and it might seem a whole lot easier and definitely a whole lot faster for you to do the dishes yourself because you've been doing it for so long and you're very familiar with it. But if you can teach your children how to do it, that frees up some of your time so that you can work on other projects there around your house that need your attention and only your attention. By taking the time to teach your children and guide them through the ins and outs of washing dishes, you're not only helping them to build their abilities and skills, but you're also allowing yourself some space to make the best use of your time. And that's what delegation does, is it allows you to focus your attention on high-level tasks while you are building up the skills of the people that you are delegating to and creating a more functional system for your business or your household overall. Workplace success is intertwined among staff, and each staff member is most successful when they feel empowered. After all, when they succeed, we succeed. TheBalanceCareers.com writes, empowerment is the process of enabling or authorizing an individual to think, behave, take action, and control work and decision making about their jobs in autonomous, independent, self directed ways. It's the state of feeling self empowered to take control of your destiny. While it's your job as a supervisor or a leader or a manager to make the big picture decisions, fostering employee empowerment through involvement will enable your team members to contribute their best efforts. So, if you're new to delegating, it's important to start slowly. When delegating, your goal should be to build up both your delegating abilities as well as your employees' abilities to take on the responsibilities. To do this, start by delegating a low priority task. This will allow both you and your employee to test the waters of delegation. A big key to delegating effectively is being in touch with your team. Knowing who is best suited for certain tasks will go a long way in delegating appropriate work. You might have one employee who excels in big picture brainstorming ideas and another who does much better with detail oriented tasks. Knowing what each person can bring to the table is crucial in deciding where and how to best delegate tasks. Too often, people make a habit of delegating to whoever has the lightest workload or whoever happens to be closest by and most convenient. Instead of falling into that habit, consider who has the most significant number of relevant skills for the tasks. Another thing to keep in mind is each individual's range of skills, their potential for growth, and their individual goals. There are some people out there who may need to learn that skill for further on down the line. If you delegate a task where they will have an opportunity to learn something new that they can grow from later on, that'll be helpful for them later on in their career. On your handout, I want you to write down the names of the people or maybe the positions or maybe the types of people that you can delegate tasks to. Okay, that's there at the bottom of that first page. They could be family members, they could be friends, they could be coworkers, maybe even a virtual assistant or completely outside companies. Think about who you can delegate to. Go ahead and write that down on your sheet.
Yeah, I would say, Michelle, one of the things is, and I know, you're talking to organizations, but a lot of times, but frankly, with this group of people, you could replace your team with your network and
Mm-hmm.
really realize that why we're networking here
Exactly.
is to get to know the capabilities and build what I call a wealth team or
Yep.
build a team around you. It doesn't have to be One of the things that I experience with most of the entrepreneurs that I have one-to-ones with is we tend to want to do everything ourselves or don't feel we can afford to outsource or move stuff to off, whether it's our bookkeeping like Jennifer would do, or, or whatever. We tend to hold on to it for various reasons. So I think that those types of things that you're doing that don't inspire you would be the ones that would make it to that list on the worksheet. And those are the things that I have to remind myself of.
Yeah, that an excellent point, David. The reason why you're in networking groups is to not only um, find new people who you can do business with, but more importantly, to find people who can do business with you. And you want to make sure that you're comfortable with delegating these tasks and these projects to other people. And who better than to look at the people within your network, the people that you're meeting with every single week, who this is what they do. This is what they do for a living. And it makes perfect sense to delegate a lot of the tasks and projects that you have to people within your network. So having said that, does anybody want to share a few of the people that they can delegate to?
So my spouse, as well as my branch office administrator,
Okay.
and then also, for instance, today with needing some signs done and not having the technology to do the updated graphic and delegating that off to Darren's team.
Excellent.
It's just a few.
That's great, Luke. Thank you for sharing that. Randy, did you want to add?
Yeah, I was going to say that aside from business, because I've really been retired for some time, but um, it's a form of delegation, but I'll call it an ask, and it's my kids.
Mm-hmm.
And rather than, hey, Adam, do this, we'd start out by asking him, would you help me do this? And then ultimately, he was better than I was, and I said, hey, Adam, could you help me? Could you do this?
Mm-hmm.
And then he developed skills that he didn't know he had.
Yep.
And I think that same model works in a business environment.
It does. Yeah. And Randy, that's a great example. I asked all of you before if you had children, and most of you are just like, yep, got them. When my children were growing up, I decided when I had both of them, my main driving force was to make sure that by the time that they were adults, that they were going to be productive, responsible adults who could take care of themselves. I did not want them to have to rely on other people to take care of themselves. That was just a guiding force that I had. And so my son and my daughter know how to cook, how to clean, how to sew, how to do repairs, how to take care of, how to cut grass, do just about everything around the house, do things with cars. So that way I knew when they moved out that they'd be able to survive, that they'd be able to take care of themselves, that they wouldn't be, relying on other people for a lot of those things. And it's the same with your family members, but it's also the same with some of the teams that you have and some of the people that you're leading. You want to make sure that they have the skills that they need to be successful later on in life. And one of the ways to do that is to delegate some of the tasks that you have so that they can learn new skills and they can be successful further on down the line. If you're mentoring somebody or you're coaching somebody, that's one of the people you should be looking at to delegate to, because you want them to be able to learn some of these skills and have these abilities and be successful later on. So keep that in mind. Anybody else want to share? Go ahead, Vic.
So one of the things that ties into all of these concepts that I would love to see incorporated into a networking group, whether it be Richardson Plano networkers or whatever, is a needs assessment, a strength finders assessment or a DISC assessment that That way you don't have to guess
Yeah.
when you go into a new networking group, having that platform that says, okay, according to disc profile, here are the strengths of this individual. That way you're not like, oh, well, is this person really well suited to handle that network, that component of my business or my lifestyle? If we had a platform that was inclusive, that shared all of those strengths right off the get-go, that would be a huge benefit to a value add, at least from my perspective, to a networking group. You don't have to second guess yourself, and you don't have to do trial and error to figure out, oh, well, this person was good for this, but they weren't really that great for that. So doing a disc assessment would be a phenomenal resource to eliminate challenges.
Yeah. And Vic, I'm glad you said that. Well, I'd be more than happy to volunteer because I'm a disc consultant. So I get what you're saying. When you take that disc assessment and you learn what your preferences are and what your, like you said, what your strengths are and what it is that you're really not good at, it gives you an opportunity to figure out where you are within a group. And what's even better is when you can do something like a team impact report, where you can see not only where you are, but where everybody else in the team is. And so I'm more than happy to help you guys out with that. That is something that I can do if you're interested in that later on down the road. But yeah, that's a great idea.
Well, and I'll add, as a manager, a team leader, whatever, one of your primary responsibilities is to train people to replace you.
Yes.
And that's when I was doing that, that was a lost art. That was hard to find people that were willing to do that.
And Don, to that point, I don't believe that you're a true leader until you've created more leaders. And succession planning is a huge challenge for many organizations out there. What they're finding is people are starting to retire sooner. Organizations are finding that the people who have the wealth of knowledge and the history of what's been going on are leaving, and when that happens, there's nobody there to fill that gap and to take their place. And so you're right, this is something that developing those skills and helping people to realize what it is that you do is extremely important.
If you're in a, if you're in a growing organization, company, let's say, you can't move up.
Right.
To Don's point, you can't move up unless you've got somebody to move in
Yes.
to take over your job. So you always have to be grooming people to do what Don suggested. So Don, that's a great point.
Yeah. Thank you, Randy. My husband was in the military, and when you first get in the military, there's a ton of you there who are privates and PFCs. As you go up further and further, though, along and you grow in rank, you literally have to wait until somebody retires or somebody leaves to open up a spot for you to get into. And it's that way a lot with corporations and organizations too. You have to wait until somebody leaves. Well, while you're waiting for them to leave, you need to develop the skills and you need to learn how to do those jobs. And that's where delegating can come in and really help people out. All right, so before we delegate tasks, it's crucial to trust that everyone on your team can take on the responsibility of the task at hand and can make their own decisions. Do you think your team is actually ready? Can they do the job? Do that by assigning a project to your team and have everything delegated out. Ensure you have complete faith in their ability to complete the task. You got to trust them and you have to believe in them. When the project is due, answer the following questions. Is the project complete? Has everyone finished what they were assigned? And is the quality up to your standards, or does it look sloppy and finished at the last minute? If everything is complete to your satisfaction, great. If not, examine where the project fell short and then try again. To ensure success, it's best if you can provide or at least explain the task in its entirety to whoever you're delegating to. Make sure the person tasked with the work understands the overall purpose of the project, the important aspects that might require extra time and effort, as well as any background information that can help clarify why the project was put in place to begin with. When your team is aware of the big picture, they will work well together and are more likely to succeed. If you're not already in the practice of providing your team with the big picture, start, try it out, let them know what it looks like and how they are individually contributing to that big picture. Deadlines must be clearly defined in order to be met. If a project has multiple components, make sure the team knows exactly when each element of that project is due. And if you're new to delegating or working with a new team, or you're trying this for the first time with somebody, try making a schedule for people to follow. Having a visual spreadsheet, having like a Google Doc that people have access to, or a checklist will provide everyone with something to refer back to when necessary. Involving your team in the big picture will ensure that they feel as like they're a part of the whole initiative. You can't just expect your team to know precisely what you want from them. In addition to providing critical aspects of the project, make a list of everything you can think of that will help everyone be successful for this project. When leading a team, it's essential for your team to feel like they can approach you with any questions, concerns, or just to bounce ideas off of you. Some things to keep in mind if you're implementing an open door policy is if a team member comes into your office with an idea, don't shut it down right away. Make sure you listen to what your team member is saying and really think about it. Allow others to build their own path by allowing them to have a voice in the process. And recognize strategies different from your own, because other people may come up with ideas that are truly brilliant and make more sense to implement. If you have certain expectations or you can picture in your mind exactly what the outcome looks like, make sure you share it. Your expectations should not be a secret. People would rather that you share exactly what you are looking for rather than make them guess. This sets up success for everyone involved when you share with them what you want. There's nothing worse than you going to somebody and say, "Oh, you'll figure it out." No, they won't figure it out. And then you're going to waste a lot of time and a lot of energy. Many leaders have success allowing others free rein over delegated tasks. However, this doesn't mean merely assuming work is being accomplished. Set up some project check-ins so that you are in the loop of progress. This will keep both you and the people who you're delegating to on a cohesive timeline. Remember those solid due dates that you established? For long-term projects, set specific checkpoints to ensure milestones are being met along the way. All right, on page 2 of your handout, up at the top, you've got 4 columns: task, person, delegation date, and check-in date. So what I want you to do is I want you to take a look at that list of tasks and projects that you said could be delegated and list them on there. The people that you said you could delegate to, put them in there for the task that would be right for them. And then write down the date that you are going to meet with that person or with that team or with the person in your network, and explain to them the task or project that you want to delegate to them. Finally, I want you to write down a check-in date for what you are delegating. When are you going to check in with them to make sure that they are on track? Go ahead and take a moment and fill out that top section now. All right. Does anybody want to share with us one of the tasks or projects on their list, who they're going to delegate it to, and the delegation date and check-in date? Anybody want to share? Anybody at all? Randy's laughing because he's just like, oh. Okay. If not, that's okay.
I wrote in the chat that given my current scenario, it's not really as applicable to me as it is to others. And as David said earlier, because of the nature of what we all do individually, it is harder for us. And I'll have a comment at the end about something that was said earlier.
Okay.
Michelle, so what I wrote was, I have a customer who asked me to price a sign for him, and it was a lot more expensive than he anticipated. So my inside sales rep, she had said, well, we might be able to do something different. And so I tasked her, I said, okay, let's put a price together, but we need to put a caveat in there because we're going to be using an existing sign that he has. We can't promise that the graphics are going to stick to that substrate. But anyway, so I tasked her to go ahead and put an estimate together, see what we can do. And then we have a morning, 8:30 morning meeting every day. And so I'm going to check in with her in the morning to follow up on where we were. And that's something little, but that's something that it allows me to do without having to worry about it myself.
Awesome. I love that. Good deal.
On a personal side, I can delegate my lawn mowing to my robot mower.
Perfect. Good deal, Don. All right, let's start to wrap things up here. So for the tasks to set up for your team to be ultimately successful, you're going to want to first decide what to delegate. You're going to want to pick the right people for the task. You're going to want to communicate clearly what it is that they need to do. Set check-in dates, but don't be overbearing and don't be one of those people who micromanages. And finally, one of the last things you're going to want to do is share in the rewards and give credit where credit is due. So when they're successful, celebrate with them, congratulate them, and give them credit for a job well done. All right. It's been great spending some time with you guys. My company is a Teague of your own. I help organizations and people who are struggling with communication. They have conflict that's preventing people from working together to accomplish their organization goals, and also to help fill the gaps when it comes to leadership and management skills. I can do coaching, training, and in addition to speaking with different groups. In the chat box, I actually put in a form there if you're interested in ordering either the digital bundle or the secret to having it all. I've got a new program starting on Tuesday. Your purpose creates your vision, which sets your goals. And we've also got a learn for a year bundle that's available. You can either go to my website and actually you can find that on the sheet that I just put there in the chat box. I've got special pricing for y'all for today only. So head over there if you're interested in any of them. Thank you so much. Does anybody have any questions or have any last minute comments?
I just wanted to say thank you so much because it brought a new sense of vision and direction for me to follow as it relates to some of the challenges that I've been facing. And so I just wanted to say thank you so much for the value that you brought to the group and to me personally. So thank you.
You are most welcome, Vic. Thank you. I'm glad you got that out here.
Hey, Michelle, one thing you mentioned earlier about being in the Army, I retired from the Army Reserves.
God
and
thank you.
The way the Army sets up leadership is they delegate. So, like a company would consist of maybe 120 soldiers. They'll break it down into like 4 platoons.
Yep.
They'll have a platoon sergeant for each platoon. they're basically, their theory is you should never manage more than 4 to 6 people. Any one person should never manage more than 4 to 6 people to be an effective leader.
Yep.
And so I try to run my business like that. And I did that when I was in construction for many years, to do the same thing.
Yeah, so that way you have team leads. Each platoon, actually in platoons, go down to squads. So and you
Squads and
have
teams.
the leaders through there. Yep, makes
Yeah.
sense.
Mhm.
Good deal. All right.
That was something that I took away from there as well, because I was a combat veteran for the Marines. So
Thank you.
using that military model was instrumental. And I keep forgetting sometimes
Mhm.
to implement the lessons that I had learned early on in my life through the military. So thank you for reminding me of that as well.
You are most welcome. Thank you. Thank you for your service. Jennifer?
I was just gonna say, my full-time job, previous, many years ago, we did the disc thing as a group and everything. And I'd be curious to see what my results would be now, because that was years ago.
Okay.
So that would be fun.
You can change over time. People, sometimes they will change over time. For the most part, your preferences don't, but how you react to stress might.
Yeah. That's
So
it.
if somebody wanted to go through and have you as their disc coach,
Mhm.
how do we, is that a service that you offer on your website that you can pay for to have you evaluate our disc assessment, or is there a coupon code or discount code or something for going through?
I will put one up there for you guys. Usually it's just under $100 usually for it, and that's the disc assessment plus the debrief. I'll go into the website in just a little while, and I will add a discount code in there, and I'll give it to you guys for $79. But I've put my phone number there in the chat box. Feel free to text me or call me, and then we can set something up too. Especially if you wanted to do this for like a larger group, we need to talk about how many people and stuff like that, and we could get something set up for you.
Michelle, it's been a long time for me, but is disk analysis and cooter preference analysis similar things? Or am I dating myself?
Sort of, kind of, yeah.
Okay, sort of, kind of.
Yeah, disc, there's 4 main styles. It stands for direct, influencer, steady, and compliant is disc.
Okay, got it. Thanks.
Sure, thank you.
All right. Thank you, Michelle. Appreciate you.
David.
Jennifer, did you have something? Appreciate you. Jennifer, did you have something else?
Yeah, wasn't there one called Myers something?
Yes, Myers-Briggs.
Yeah, we did that as well too, and that was,
Yep.
It's interesting. It's just interesting.
Great.
Awesome.
Anything else, Vic?
Nope.
Okay. Well, I'm going to go back. Thank you again, Michelle. That was
Thank you.
very beneficial. One of the things I will share with you, you said your offer is good for today. One of the things that happens here is this is recorded, then it'll be up sometime this weekend, and there will be some people that will be watching it after today. So I'm assuming that's probably okay, right? I'll also put the worksheet up there.
Okay, that'll work. How about if I leave the pricing in place through, let's say, Monday? Monday the 19th, we'll say at 11:59 p.m. Central Time. I'll make it your time. Sound good?
That sounds good. Yeah, that should get, it just is a function of me getting the recording and putting it up and having people actually find it. So I just didn't want somebody